Well, Finance Minister Enoch Godogwana has allocated 14 billion rand over the medium term to fight crime and corruption. South African Police Service has been allocated 7.8 billion to appoint 5,000 police trainees next year. The National Prosecuting Authority receives 1.3 billion rand to support the implementation of the recommendations of the State Capture Commission and the Financial Action Task Force. Crime analyst Dr. Kock joins us now to help us unpack this budget, particularly as it relates to fighting crime. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. I wonder what your initial thoughts were when you heard the budget and the Finance Minister talk about his allocation to fighting crime and corruption, allocation to the police and also the MPA.
Yeah, good evening and good evening to the viewers. I'm glad that they can add another 5,000 members with this extra budget that they received. I think that the South Africa Police Service, one of the main problems is human resources. They need more feet on the ground to successfully to provide high visibility. You see, the recipe for crime is high visibility based on intelligence. If you have those things, then you can succeed. If we look back in history, and maybe I've repeated this many times in interviews like this, in the period 2002 to about 2012, in that 10 years, crime actually decreased quite dramatically, especially murder, which is a very reliable crime tendency. It decreased every year from 25,000 to roughly just above 15,000 murders. Then came 2012 and up to today, and murder just skyrocketed. In the last 2 years, this year we haven't fully completed, but I've already did some calculations on the 3 quarters. We have an increase of about 12%. In the previous year, it was 18%. And clearly, this is bad. I mean, South Africa is now very close or the #1 country in the world when it comes to murder. Now, what we need is police visibility with the boots on the ground. And maybe this budget will provide us some extra boots.
All right. I mean, they're talking about 5,000. I think they had hoped 10,000, if I'm not mistaken, in the medium-term budget policy statement. But that's obviously been revised. So half of that will be allocated. But I wonder if the concern isn't so much how much is allocated, but rather what is allocated is used for.
Yeah, you see, when it also comes to visibility, it's not only about 5,000 or let's say 10,000 boots more on the ground. It takes time, it's experience. You need training, you need experience, and then these people must be used at station level, and they must be used operationally. It does not help them to put these people, in offices. There's too many police. I think if there's one thing that they should do is actually look at the existing human resources and see how many of them are sitting in offices, doing office work, doing things like even firearm licenses, doing community service center where they just, do very ordinary work. And take these people to the street. You need visibility in the street, not at the police station or at the provincial office or the national office or the area office. You need them in the street. Also, there's other equipment that is needed. If you employ 5,000 new members, you need vehicles. South Africa, you can't police without vehicles. It's difficult to police with bicycles. It's difficult to police like the Bobby on the beat. So you need vehicles. And we know that half of our police vehicles are in the garage. And they are in the garage for up to 6 months and even longer for a small thing that have to be repaired. There is a massive bureaucracy in the police service, as in many other departments. Now, unfortunately, that is because of the corruption of the past. So they put up extra measures to sort of see to it that there's no corruption. But even with that, corruption still exists. And the problem is that there's not enough vehicles to have visibility. There's not, in many police stations, there's not telephone systems. Now, a police without telephones is a problem. And so I can continue with that.
Yeah. Last year, the police were allocated, I think, 106 billion rand, if I remember correctly, 106 billion rand. And then by the end of March, they had underspent by 4 billion. And I'm wondering if we're not in danger again. The finance minister will say, here's money, go and use it, go and spend it. But we end up either through mismanagement or whatever it is, underspending in a department that's already under-resourced.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what I'm saying, is that, there's so much red tape, so much bureaucracy, that if you want to service a vehicle or repair a vehicle, it may take months because there's so many forms to be filled in. These vehicles are standing at certain places and then wait for authority to repair this vehicle. Then it is taken to some or other garage where it also stay waiting a long time. And it is also because of money which is not spent. Money should be spent to buy new vehicles, to repair older vehicles. And if money is not spent, that's actually a bad sign, given the high levels of crime of this country, especially murder and robberies.
2010, I think we had around about 200,000 police officers. 2022, we down to 182,000. So we've got less police officers. The population has increased. What would you say is the good number of police officers that we need to have for a population that we have? Given that we weren't coping with 200,000 in 2010, we've got less police officers now, and yet the population has grown.
Well, it's difficult to say, but I would say if you look at the population growth in this 10 years, if you look at the rise in the levels of just ordinary crime, and then also in the growth of organized crime, I would say it would be good if we could have about 230,000 police officers. If you go overseas, especially in Europe, but also in the United States and many other countries, you find visibility in each street. If you walk in a capital city or in a large city, you will maybe even see in one street block, you will see 2 or 3 different types of police. A metropolitan police, then maybe a state police and a national police in one street. And it is this visibility which make it a high risk for criminals to do whatever they do. If we take our poor areas, if we take the Khayelichas of this country, the areas with informal settlements, the mega townships, we find that people are going home this evening as we speak, and before we speak, they're going home and they get off the bus, they get off the train, and they get off the taxi, and they have to walk through very dark areas to wherever they live. And then they are confronted with criminals who don't only take their money but kill them because they are worried about recognition later. And that is why our murder figure is now on a double digit for the last 2 years, and which places us in number 1 in the world. So there, even in that very poor areas, with the very small little streets and alleys, we need visibility. We need police on their feet.
Crime analyst Krista Kock, thank you very much indeed. Always a pleasure hearing from you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.